Some of you expressed concern about the length of these videos. For your convenience, check out the table of contents on the right-hand side. Feel free to start at the beginning and work your way through the video for some awesome in-depth insights. But if you see what you came for, or just want to see something over that you didn't catch the first time, please feel free. And as always, guys, thanks for tuning in. Hey guys, I'm Shaft of the Clinic Casting crew. Welcome to Crash Course. Our guest for the evening, he will actually be taking control of the coaching session, but he is Lucoda. Lucoda, how are you doing today, bro?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. So you're going to be teaching us about Zerg versus Protoss today, correct?
Yeah, so a couple of months ago I wrote a guide on the matchup, and it's been getting a bit of people are like watching it and learning from it. So I still use it to this day a good bit, and it's really good, and it's good for newcomers coming into the game to learn as well, because it's pretty simple once you get the timings down.
Okay, so I know that there's a couple of different ways that Protoss and stuff open. How exactly do you open when you play this? Does the Protoss build have anything to do with what you're going to be doing, or what's your mind state going into Zerg vs Protoss?
Yeah, so Zerg versus Protoss out of all the matchups is definitely the most reactive one on the Zerg part. You just have to be constantly scouting and reacting to what the opponent is doing, because if they catch you off guard, it's almost impossible to hold. So you'll see at the beginning of the game, I sent my drone around looking for a proxy 2-gate, which is really important, because if they're proxy 2-gating you, you won't be able to put down the hatch like I did so early. This is very hard to hold. So in this game I opened up a 15 hatch and a 16 pool in response to seeing no early probe scout, which usually indicates a gateway first, and seeing no proxy 2 gates. And I also took a gas because I saw no forge at the front, or no fast nexus, which means he's probably going to go for some sort of light gateway aggression at least. So having the early speed is really helpful in this case.
Okay, and that's mostly for map control to hunt down pylons, correct?
Yeah, exactly. So when you get the speed out, you can just look around for pylons, and it's really handy. So in this, I set my first overlord to his natural, and I see the expansion coming down at that time. And I set my second overlord to my natural, so I could see if he was doing some sort of weird cannon rush, I'd be able to react accordingly. So now at 100 gas, I'm taking my drones off, and I make a few sets of lings, 2 for the towers, 1 to scout his front, and I'll react from there. I'm going to be going for 2 queens early, and I'm getting another queen for creep. It's good to have creep going down to your next base.
So basically, the number of bases you have plus 1?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
So I see 3 gateways at the front, which means he has a total of 4 gates, which means he might be going for some aggression. So in this case, I want to be starting making lings very shortly. I make a batch of drones first. I also saw a sentry, which means he's not going really heavy aggression. He's gonna, be mainly defensive. If I saw a zealot instead of the sentry, I'd be a bit scared right now, and I'd definitely be looking around. I actually picked off his probe in the right side of the map, and I made a few more lings just in case.
Okay.
So I'm just scouting now with my overlord the natural, having a look at what he's doing. Poking at the front of my lings, I see lots of sentries. He's not doing any big aggression anytime soon. Gonna set my roach warren on my evo chamber at the same time. In the guide I said you shouldn't get evo chamber because you have more units to defend all-ins, but I actually find recently that getting the evo chamber is really helpful. It's just really handy to have upgrades so you can get into the mid game pretty easy. So just try to get some lings into his base to see anything I can. Droning, getting gas.
Do you always get your
my
macro
macro
hatch
hatch
at this
mid lane.
timing?
It's it's actually a pretty good time at the moment. You want it around the time a third base comes down, so we see the third base. At this time I'm going to start my second evo chamber, because I know it's going to go into a sort of macro rush game at least. Gonna start droning, take my 4th base. I'm going to work on the rocks at the back, taking my 4th base now. Droning a bit more, getting some safety units out. These are the panic roaches, I like to call them, because I see a next base down, so generally a Zerg will be like, oh, I can just drone now, it's all good. But sometimes that might be a fake base, and then they might do some weird aggression, and then you're really screwed if you don't have those safety roaches. So I like to call those the safety roaches.
Gotcha.
Got my infestation pit down, getting my hive. Gonna set my hydra down at the same time. This is to get my Vipers out very fast and to get a couple of Hydralisks for DPS. Still making roaches, making a queen, overseers just in case of Dark Templar. Going for another scout with my overseer, I see 2 forges, which means he might be going for some sort of timing anytime soon. I also see a dark shrine, which is pretty important because I know I have to start getting some defenses soon. Still getting my hive, got my hydra upgrades on the way. Gonna start a few vipers ASAP. I see the front of his army. Gonna start making lots of units now. This army isn't too scary at the moment, but I have to start getting a concave ready now just in case he does attack. So you'll see I start spreading out my units a bit.
Yeah, you pre-split them before the engagement?
Yeah, like just in case. It's really important to pre-split because like if you just have all your army in a bunch, he can get really good force fields off and you're really in trouble then. Whereas if you have a good concave ready, even if he doesn't attack, it's nice to have. You just have your units all split out. Still getting my upgrades, my +2 just finished. My 5th base is getting saturated. And remember, the whole aim of this build is so I can get a big muta switch coming out.
So
that's really important.
You haven't been aggressive at all this game. You've just stayed back on your creep, played defensively. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. So this is a bit of a blunder by me. I sent my Vipers up a bit too aggressively and they got picked off. So this engagement could have went a lot better for me, but it didn't. So you were saying about me playing a bit passive. I think that's really important because if I play aggressive, he might get a really good engagement and then I'm really in trouble. Whereas the whole aim of this is to make just enough units to be able to defend any pressure he can put on, so that I can go for a big muta switch later on.
Okay.
So I traded my army with his, and I was remaxed on purely roaches because I knew he only had Colossus. He didn't have any Templar or anything like that. So roaches are really good to have in this situation. And I clean up the army pretty easily, and I'm in a really dominating position at this point. You see my spires up, getting my muta upgrades. I have a really good drone count. I have 77, which is perfect. Still making roaches, getting my gases at my 6th. So yeah, the whole point of this build is to get a big economy going behind your like roach hydra force, and then that means you can get a really good muta switch going. This is a blunder by me now. I saw the dark shrine, I didn't defend properly, and he managed to pick off a base and a couple of drones, which is really annoying. But we deal with it okay. He didn't do enough damage to get back into the game, to be honest. As you can see by the supplies and the bank, I'm in a good enough position to be losing stuff. Getting my other base back up that falled. Creep spread could be a lot better, but with this style, creep spread isn't too important, to be honest. I think I have too many hydras in this case. Like that's, what is it, 16, 20 hydras, far too many. So this is at the point I'm going to get aggressive. Really good engagement for me. And now, look at my bank, I'm just going to want to trade my whole army at this point and then go for a big muta switch. He has no Stargates, so there's no way he can deal with a muta switch at all. Trading. Gonna pick off this base, retreat. I see probes coming up here. There's a base I didn't scout. Trade. I'm gonna lose everything, but it doesn't matter, because look at my bank.
You can just do a big tech switch. You're basically
exactly, that's it.
You were banking money and freeing your supply.
Yep. 40 Mutalisk on the way. And what does he have to deal with it? Have a look. He has 2 Stalkers and a Dark Templar.
Right.
I think this is going to go in my favor. Exactly. So he didn't open with a Stargate. So I could just do this. And look, I'm even going to take his normal 4th base as my like 7th base. And he sees the mutas, he's going to tap out.
Tech switching seems like a big strength of a Zerg player's arsenal. How important is it to tech switch, and what makes it so special for Zerg to be able to do that?
The main thing about the Zerg army is, right, we have mobility and we have lots of Zerg stuff, alright? So like with Zerglings, you can get 2 of them, you can get like 400 Zerglings at a time, right? So like the units generally aren't like too great. Like, you know, like if you had to like compare one unit to another unit of another race, like they don't match too evenly, if you know what I mean.
Right.
So like being able to just constantly tech switch between like multiple techs and being able to hit like multiple locations with like loads of units at the same time, it's really important to utilize that as Zerg. So yeah, like this game just went really dominating for us.
Okay. And if
just a point to note as well, sometimes the muta switch won't win you the game straight out. So in that case, you have to like focus some buildings down at a time. So it's important to focus down the Stargate like ASAP, because if they get enough Phoenixes out, it's very hard to win. Then you want to hit forges, because if you don't hit the forges, they can just get like loads and loads of cannons out. And then you want to hit econ lots, like nexus, just hitting loads of like places at the same time. It's pretty like multitask. Like, you need good multitasking for it. But as long as you practice it, your multitasking will improve in time. And players of any level can be doing this stuff, because the lower down you are, the lower down the opponent is as well. So it's fine.
Yeah, they're gonna have a harder time defending it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so so that was your very standard style. Now, what could you scout that's going to make you diverge from this path you've set up?
Okay, so
let's
give you
review the path real quick, and then go into your diverging paths.
Okay, sure. So you open up the game, and the opponent either goes a Forge Fast Expand or he goes a Gateway Expand. If he opens a Forge Fastway Expand, you're going to want to get fast 3 bases, like a 4-minute turd, and you're going to want to play it from there. Like, you're going to want to skip gas for it until like 6 minutes. You know, like, that's the standard, like, bread and butter Zerg versus Protoss from back in 2012, where Stefano was going mass roaches. Then Gateway Expand, you just saw how you do it. You get an early gas, you delay your turn base for a bit, and you're going to want to get lings for map presence, so you can deny any pylons. And then from there, you're going to want to get roaches and hydras to defend any 2 base all-ins off 1 evo chamber and 4 hatches. And when you see his next base, you're going to want to get another evo chamber and an infestation pit and a 4th and 5th base. Like, just get all those at the same time. And it's like getting a big econ, getting a big army up, and then just defending, putting on aggression when you feel necessary, like not losing too much at a time, just getting a big bank, so then you get a big muta switch. So that's just the standard one. That's like, if you're playing as a Stargate opener, that's the one you want to do, things like that. However, if you play against a robotics bay opening, like Joe Fast Immortals to take a 3rd base, like in the last game we played, that's like actually what the opponent did, but I decided to just go standard anyway. You don't have to do this switch. I like to go straight into Mutalisks, like to skip roaches, skip hydras, just go straight into Mutalisks. And you'll see why in this game. It's just really hard for the Protoss to defend against Mutalisks, because they have no answer, if you know what I mean. Like, they have a few stalkers. Like, you can just hit loads and loads of locations at the same time.
And this
there's
map
nothing they can
especially.
Oh, this map is just so good for mutas, because like, look how big it is, and look how fast mutas are, and then look how immobile the Protoss army is. It's just perfect for us.
Okay, so what maps would you not suggest Mutalisks on?
Well, Mutalisks are so good, you could just use them on any map, to be honest. There's no map I'd be like, oh, don't go Muta on this map. It's just, they're so good on every map, it doesn't really matter.
Gotcha. Well, it looks like you are not the leader, but I can just times 2 it for you.
Okay, yeah, I'll just spectate you, so.
Yeah. Well, you can't spectate me, because it's a replay.
Okay.
Yeah, I've just got my vision set to yours in game. That's how I ran it last time as well.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah. It's kind of weird with the injects, but it's fine. Players should players should get used to your inject rhythm, so works out okay. Either way, do you always open pull first, or do you pierce hatch first?
No, even last game I opened hatch first. Like, this map is so big that like statistically they're probably not gonna cannon rush you. Okay. So I just like to open hatch first in this game. It's a risk, but you know, gotta take risks in this game. Yeah. On 4-player maps like Distant Frost, I actually like to open how I would against the Forge Fast Expand, regardless of their opener. Like, if this guy had opened Gateway first, I'd still be opening this way. Okay, so how you open is actually not as important as what you converge to in the mid game. No, not really. Especially on smaller maps, though, it's important if you're against Gateway Expand to get a gas up, because otherwise you're going to get overrun by aggression. Okay. So yeah, this is like a slightly different variation of an opener that I did last game. Getting my 2 queens out, no gases, just droning. And I know where he is. My overlord scouted it, and he is opening up a Forge Fast Expand. So even if he, like, this is just a perfect like blind counter to his build that I'm doing. Like, this is, I'm safe enough to do what I'm doing at the moment. So my 3rd base is up, just droning, getting another queen. Drone. And it's all good. You were talking about an inject method earlier on. To be honest, that's really like personal preference to like what the player wants to do. Right. I've used lots and lots of methods trying to use the best one that I find. Like, I used a lot of people like the one where you, like, you know, have all your queens in a hockey, and you shift V, space, 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 click, click, click.
Mhm.
It's really fast, but
You
one
can
of the
send your
downfalls of
overloads
that method,
everywhere.
yeah, like one of the downfalls is if you don't have a queen per hatch, you're kind of screwed because your
Mhm.
queens start walking everywhere.
That's
So what I
actually the
started
method
doing,
I use.
oh yeah, I used that a lot back in the day as well, but
Mhm.
like for that reason, I stay away from it. But nowadays, I just I set my cycle through bases command to spacebar,
Mhm.
and I just click space, box a queen, V, click, space, box a queen, click V, click, like that.
Nice.
And it's kind of hard at first, but once
Mhm.
you get used to it, you're gonna start doing it so quickly, and it's just as efficient.
That's cool.
Okay,
Well,
so
oh, go ahead.
oh no, go ahead, it's fine.
Oh no. What I actually do nowadays is I have my defensive queens on spacebar, and I have all like
Okay.
3 or 4 inject queens on, whatever key I'm using for my queens, and
Okay.
it basically stops them from running around because I have the defensive queens there. But anyways, big
Yeah, yeah.
battle. So tell us about it.
Okay, so he had a pylon up by my potential front base,
Mhm.
so I scouted around. That's generally like a popular place for pylons to be put down. Scouted it, killed it. I saw he had a push coming across the map, so I got safety roaches out and I just picked it off. And there's nothing he can do from here.
Mhm.
It's really hard to do gateway pressure in the Protoss if you open Forge Fast Expand, because like that was like 2 minutes later than what a gateway expand would have hit.
Right.
So there was nothing he could have done there. So that was just pretty standard. And we see he takes the third base behind this. And
And-
what way did he open? He opened Robo.
Mhm.
And I'm going to see this in a second.
And he basically just wanted to apply pressure to make sure you weren't being too greedy.
Yeah, so at this point, I want to see what he's doing, and I'm going to do that by putting on aggression.
Mhm.
So killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Gonna be aggressive and gonna scout at the same time.
Right.
So I saw no Stargate so far, and if he had opened Stargate, we would see it. And what do we see? We see an Immortal. And at this point, you know, I'm doing my standard stuff at the moment, and I'm gonna immediately start transitioning into Aspire.
So if you had
that's
have
my
seen
plan.
a Stargate, what would have changed your play? You wouldn't have gone for the Spire?
Yeah, if I saw a Stargate, I would have opened exactly like I did the game before.
Okay.
You know, like I was against the Robo last game as well, but like that, like I could have done this transition against the opponent last game as well, but I
Okay.
decided just to play standard. So against the Stargate opener, you do exactly what I did last game,
Mm-hmm.
and I see a Robo. What I'm gonna do straight away, take up to 6 bases, or 1, 2, 3, sorry, 5 bases.
So last
they're
game
gonna
was
saturate
more of
the
a
gas.
safe build. This is a more risky one, but like you said, take risks, get reward.
Yeah, this is really, really risky to be honest.
Mhm.
Well, okay, no, it's not really, really risky, but let's just say he did a push right now. What do I have to defend it?
Not much.
Absolutely. I just have to go for the base race. And look, you're going to see me do some stuff now, alright? I have roaches up at the north, just north of the base, to go for a counter attack. This is really, really important. Just hitting loads of places at the same time. It's what Zerg is best at, right?
Right.
So just taking bases, getting my gases up, getting my muta upgrades going. I'm gonna hit the base of my mutas, he's gonna fall back, gonna go in with the roaches. This is just delaying his response to my Mutalisks. I lost all my roaches, but it doesn't matter, I don't need them, they're just dead supply at this point. Creep spread could be a lot better. Have Lings up at the top for a counter attack. And all he can really do at this point is just go for an attack and try a base race. It's really hard to defend against the mutas if you open Robo. And to be honest, at this point the game is won. Taking my 6th base, getting my gases up. And look, like, see how big the map is. Look at my main base and then look up at my 6th and 7th base.
Right.
Like, how can he get up there? There's no way he can get up there. Like, 15 minutes in, I have a 7th base up.
Yeah, if he tries to swing up there, he leaves himself vulnerable in his own bases.
Exactly. So at this point, just base racing. He got a Stargate up in time, but he didn't get any Phoenixes out. Picking off pylons. If you see if you see an Artosis pylon powering like 10 gates, like you should just instantly go for that because like he's just screwed. He's trying to do a base race, but like look, I have 1, 2, 3. I have 4 bases. He has no idea about.
Right.
Like, there's nothing he can do. He could have recall. I'm just gonna attack him and win. I have so many mutas I can just engage at this point. It's fine. And GG's called.
And
So
even
like
if
if you do,
Mhm.
sorry.
Even
No,
if
go
you
ahead.
lost some of them, you could replenish pretty easily.
Exactly, like I have 5 bases, he has 1 base, no probes. So, yeah, like you just want to base race as much as possible if you decide to go pure Mutalink. It's hard to actually engage the army if you open up off like 1,000 gas into meters. it's best to just harass, force a base race, harass, get up to like 12 bases or something monstrous, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, now in that particular game, he kept going back home with his units. How would you handle it differently had he said, oh, Mutalisk, and just attacked you straight out? What did you have at home to stay safe? Would you have gone straight into the base race? Would you make spines to buy time? How would you handle that situation?
So yeah, in this situation, I just keep base racing. My army, like it's risky to go attack his army at that stage. I only had like 20 Mutalisks at that point. So I just take bases at all corners of the map, like just be really annoying, stuff like that. There's no point going back. And if he had decided to just try and defend and get stargates up, I just take more and more bases. If he decided to get like phoenixes out of 4 stargates, I just go like 12 corruptors into my mutate ball. And I can engage against phoenixes pretty efficiently. And one thing some European Zergs are starting to do now is they get vipers and then they pull the phoenixes into their mutate ball.
Nice.
And that's really sweet. Like even against Archons, they pull one Archon in, picked off the Archon. And like anything you lose in a base race situation as Protoss is just so crucial.
Right.
Especially in Archon, something so expensive. Something really common these days as Protoss is a 2 base all-in. And this game we're going to see how I defend against a 2 base all-in.
Awesome.
And like, albeit like this Protoss, he didn't execute the 2 base all-in as best as he could have, but like the principle still applies. You know, it's the same thing. So, like I said before, in this game we're going to be looking at a 2 base immortal all-in. Like Protoss 2 base all-ins are very prominent in the ladder at the moment, or in tournaments, etc. I was saying that the most common and most like the best 2 base all-ins with Protoss are the Immortal Century all-in and the Naniwa Immortal Zealot on it, which is really tough to hold. But if you just follow a few basic guidelines, it's actually pretty easy. So I'll just talk about the Naniwa Century one, the Naniwa Zealot one at the moment. We're not going to see it at this game, but it's important to know how to hold it. You're going to scout at his base and you'll just see 1 gas only. At that point, 2 things should be going through your mind. If he opened up Gateway first, he might be putting on some 4-gate Zealot pressure. If he opened up Forge Fast Expand, he's probably not going to do this build anyway. Just scout again a few minutes later, and if you still see 1 gas and you see a robo, you should be instantly thinking about the Naniwa Zealot all-in. And you just get a Roach Warren, you get a Baneling Nest, and you go Roach Bane, and the Banelings clean up all the Zealots, and the Roaches clean up the Immortals, and it's really easy to hold if you just do that. There's like maybe like 8-10 Banelings max, and that will do it. And then the Roaches just clean up the rest. So back to this game, we see a 4-gas, 2 base Century Immortal all-in coming. So that means he's going to go high Century count and maybe 2 to 3 Immortals to max. Back home, just getting my standard setup going. Got my Evo going, my gas is going. At this point, I'm kind of aware he's going to go for a 2 base all-in based on what I scouted. So I'm going to want to get 5 to 6 gases up to support the Hydra numbers coming out. I'll be going Hydra Roach. So we see the push coming across. The most important thing to do in this case is just to waste force fields as much as possible. So look, I wasted 4 force fields and I lost barely anything, not too much at all. I actually traded some of my units for his sentries. That's really key. Just waste his force fields, kill his sentries, all that good stuff. We'll continue on. My creep spread could be a bit better. It's important to have good creep spread versus this because then you can wrap around his army really easily. This version of the Century Immortal on it is really weak actually. He should have a Warp Prism with him. And if he had a Warp Prism, he could just warp in really easily. You see his money's getting really high because of him. So back at the bottom of the ramp, getting a good concave going. I have a really healthy drone count. About 64, 63, it's good, is what I want. His Warp Prism's very late, he's going to come down. I'm going to attack into it, don't go too far. 3 force fields for like 1 roach. Still attacking. His Warp Prism is getting a bit aggressive. He's attacking in a really awkward position. Still making units, injecting. No more upgrades at this point. He only has 3 sentries left, but they're all for full-on force fields. He should be warping in sentries at this point, which he does. 5 more. Still have a good concave. Should be getting out lots of lings at this point. Lings are really good. 4 force fields, 1 roach. That's exactly what I want. Look at those force fields, just wasting them all. So, A moving into his army, really important. More injecting, more making roaches, making lings, making hydras. So he puts himself into a weird position. I'm going to go up on the high ground, get a good concave going. Should go around by my gas so I can get a big concave going as well. Killed the warp prism, warping in all those stalkers, that was key. See, when you go for hydras against this build, you can just easily pick off warp prism. And at this point, I can just focus down the mortals, and he's just in such a horrible position. Look at his bank, 2k. He didn't really execute this build very well, but just the same principle applies, you know. Make hydras, make roaches, make lings, and just concave, waste force fields, aggress him. One thing that's really popular is to run by Zerglings into his base. He does have a wall up, but even if you just bring like 4 roaches, you can focus down the pylon really easily and then get into his base. And that forces warp-ins at home as well, which is really, really key. So I clean up his army pretty easily. At this point, I'm just going to go aggressive. He's going to try and macro out of it, maybe go for a 2-base Colossus all in, which I think we see he's doing. It's fine. No, look at the position I'm in. I'm 40 supply up, 50 supply. Good drone count. It's all going well. I should probably take a 4th base at this moment. He has lots of pylons everywhere, which is kind of scary, but it's fine. He's going to be warping in so much at home to defend this push. It's okay. We see him trying to take another base, getting off the rocks. I'm just going to go all out and try to win the game now. Droning a little, getting my +2. I should be getting an infestation pit and going for the mid game at this point. Getting my Vipers out like I did in game 1. Picking off the pylons, really key. 2 gates unpowered, really, really good for us. Putting him into a bottleneck place. I should be putting roaches and hydras down by his natural to 3rd base ramp so I can get a good build out. 2 force fields, 3 force fields, 2 roaches. Now I attack it, focus down the immortal, pull back, pull back, pull back. Micro, micro, micro. And he loses his mothership core. Really, really key. Making more roaches. I have almost 100 more supply than him. It's game over at this point. He's trying to crud out in the Colossus, but it's just not going to work. He doesn't have running. Focus down the immortal, make more roaches. I have an Evo chamber coming up and I'm getting my Hydra speed. Macro, macro, inject, inject. Make more stuff. Taking my 4th base. And that's it, that's game. Not much you could do there.
That was awesome, dude. So, what would you say separates your play from like other Zerg's play? Why would people want to use your build as opposed to, say, someone like Jaedong? Why are you a good person to emulate?
Okay, so you know, everyone's moaning and whining about, oh, swarm hosts, oh, they're so boring to play, they're so boring to watch. Did you see any swarm hosts in my build? Nope, you did not.
One.
You know, I try to play with a swarm host as much as possible, but unfortunately sometimes you do have to mix them in. But like if you're in a lower league, like let's say platinum or gold, if you just do this build over and over and you hit solid timings and you have good macro behind it, you don't have to make any swarm hosts. You can just go roach, hydra, viper and just win. Just solid macro, solid timings, good game sense, good scouting, and you're just gonna win. It's fun to play as well because you have to get good concaves going, you have to hit from multiple locations. It's good practice for when you're playing ZvZ, roach versus roach, to get that micro going. It's pretty much the same micro, except in ZvP you're forcing out force fields.
Okay.
And as well, like, everyone loves Mutalisks. I don't know anyone who doesn't like Mutalisks as a Zerg. So it's really fun to just like make 50 Mutalisks at a time.
You know who
later
doesn't
on.
like Mutalisks?
Who?
Protoss.
Terrence. Exactly.
Alright.
So yeah, it's really fun to play, it's really fun to watch, and it's really good if you're improving and you want to like start hitting benchmarks. In my guide, I actually wrote down a few benchmarks, so if you want to practice this in your spare time, just follow the guide, see if you can hit the benchmarks. I have a few replays in there as well. The replays we went over today are also in the guide, so if you want to have a look at those, just check it out.
And if anyone wants to check out that guide, it will be in the description box below.
And like Protoss is already mixing it up these days. Like the things I talked about, you're gonna see Stargate openings, you're gonna see Robo openings, and you're gonna see 2 base all-ins. Like generally, that's what the standard Protoss is gonna do. Okay.
Okay.
Actually, one thing we didn't talk about is if they cannon rush you off a 15 hatch. If they cannon rush you off a 15 hatch, you can try to pull drones if you want. It's kind of hard sometimes. But if you want to go all in off it, you can go like 1 base roach Nidus, which is like I win a lot with that, to be honest. And if you want to try to macro behind it, just take your 4th base and your 3rd base as your natural and 3rd, and just like pick off the cannons later on. But like I said, you have to take risks, and going for 15 hatch, unfortunately, is one of those risks.
Okay.
So if you think you're kind of bad at holding off cannon rushes, maybe open up for a 15 pool of 60 hatches instead. You're not behind at all by any means if you do it that way. But this is if you want to play safer, play like that. It's okay, no worries.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Lucoda. Where can people check you out, find out more information about you, your team, maybe your Twitter, something like that?
Yeah, if you want to follow me on Twitter, you can follow me at Lucoda SC2. I do lots of Zerg coaching, like free giveaways on Twitter. And if you want to get coaching, just check out my Twitter and see me there. You can follow my team on Twitter as well, London Conspiracy. Big up and coming team, you should watch out for them. Good players on the team. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Cheer for me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, thank you so much again, Lucoda, and thank you, viewers, for tuning in. As always, don't forget to be awesome. Bye-bye.
신앙 선수가 되는 거고요.
그렇죠.
멀티에 방해도 받지 않으면서 안전하게 해주고 있는 모습인데 맹독충의 스피드업이 되기 전에 즉 전방 위에서만 싸워야 되고 전방만 또 제거하고 맞으면 돼요.
네.